want to read the name properly, Chairperson, because I've already accepted. Ogaletseng, Chair. Yes, Chairperson. My apologies for mispronouncing.
And the surname? Is the surname Ukhalaletse? Ukhalaletse, I think, is the name. What's the surname?
Good morning, Chair. My name is Ukhalaletse Ngaarekwe.
Ngaarekwe, Miss Ngaarekwe. Oh, amabitso a hao a mantle. Ukhalaletse Ngaarekwe. Thank you, ma. I think it's about time we can start. What time is it? Yeah, we can start. Honorable members, a very good morning to all of you who are on the platform. A special welcome to Minister Tokoti Diza. She joined us very early. I don't know. I'm told that there is a cabinet sitting, so there'll be a little bit of a twerk that we will do on the
It's
agenda
9 hours.
to accommodate the Honorable Minister Didiza. We appreciate your presence, ma'am, and we will like to give you an opportunity to speak before you leave. Special welcome to the MECs. I'm told that we are expecting, actually we invited 4 MECs. We received 2 apologies, and I want to believe that we have 2 MECs on the platform. If they are, or the chairpersons of the portfolio committees, provincial portfolio committees, you are also welcome on the platform. Please participate so that we can all be on the par and have a clarity on what is happening on the provinces as part of our mandate. And your team Treasury, you're also welcome in the meeting. Before we start with our next item agenda, I want to thank members for having driven the ship while I was out of the country last week. I got the report that everything went well. I want to thank you very much for being able to do the work and keep up the good work. Whoever is not here, if we can do the work, let's do the work, all of us. I really appreciate that. Can we get the apologies from the Secretariat?
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, Chairperson and honorable members. Chairperson, we have an apology from Honorable Dutoit. Honorable Dutoit is attending the ad hoc committee on disaster and floods. We also have an apology from Honorable Mamarachane. She will join the meeting. However, she might experience network challenges because she is traveling from Limpopo to OR Tambo Airport, and her flight is at 10:25. From provinces, Chairperson, we have apologies. Let me start with the Honorable Minister, Chair. As we have indicated, we have an apology from the Honorable Minister. The Honorable Minister might not be with us throughout the meeting, Chair, because she must attend the cabinet meeting. And then we have apologies from MEC Limpopo and MEC Gauteng. They are attending provincial excos in the respective provinces, Chairperson. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you. I think we can note the apologies and accept. We know Wednesdays, usually we have the excos are sitting on Wednesdays in the cabinet. We understand that the executive authorities have to attend to that. I see a hand that of, who's this? Desbos iPad. Is this the formal name? because we expect members to join. Yes, can you open your video?
Chairperson, can you hear me?
Can you open your video, please? I can hear you.
Okay, you want to see me?
Yes.
Here am I.
Yes.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
I don't see myself. Can you see me?
I can.
Okay. MEC Mohona Northwest.
Okay. Thank you, MEC.
I would like to register my apology that if the meeting will be on 10 o'clock, I must get into the provincial activity. So I won't be able to go beyond 10 o'clock.
Thank you, MEC.
Thank you. Thank you.
Those are the apologies. Honorable Detroit has also indicated to me about the commitment that he's attending the ad hoc committee. Having said that and noted the apologies that we have received formally, can I take this opportunity to request the Honorable Minister Didiza to have an opportunity to brief us, and members and all participants, there's no need for me to repeat what is expected of us. We know all the time. When you speak, please open your video if possible, and also raise your hand through the icon if you want the attention of the chairperson to recognize you to speak. Honorable Minister, over to you, Madam.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and to the members of the Portfolio Committee, of the Select Committee, together with the Secretariat of the Committee, to my colleagues, the MECs that are present, as well as the senior officials from government, both from Treasury as well as our department. I must say that it is indeed a privilege that we are with you today to reflect on the spending, in particular, of the land care line item in our budget. But before we do so, Chairperson and members, we just want to once again reflect that, as you know, that agriculture is a concurrent function. With respect to the programs such as these, the processes that national would get the funding through the division of revenue, out of which disbursement will happen to the provinces based on the business plans that they would have provided in line with the principles of the program. But I just want to say to members, why is this program important and why do we feel it is necessary that we continue to support it? But more importantly, to encourage provinces to make sure that this program is implemented. Because as we know, it is a community-based program that enables us to manage our natural resources properly. As you know, that the management of the national resources is also covered in our constitution, particularly on Schedule 4. As a national department, as I've indicated, we are responsible for the financial administration and setting of the environment, while provinces are responsible for development and implementation of programs. We implement this program, Chairperson, under our legislation, which is the Conservation of Agricultural Resource Act, Act 43 of 1983, whose mandate is to maintain the production of potential land in our country, particularly agricultural land. Our goal through this program is to optimize productivity and enhance the sustainable use of natural agricultural resources. We do this because it is important to manage our environment, because they don't only feed us today, but they also feed us tomorrow. So when we lose, particularly our soils to degradation, we don't only just lose the spaces for habitation by those communities, but also we lose the base for production when it comes to agriculture. When this land has got invasive plant, it actually diminishes the space and also the vegetation which will be used by our animal resources. So this program is important to make sure that we raise the level of awareness of communities, but at the same time, we partner with communities to make sure that we do this rehabilitation as well as prevent further areas of degradation and misuse of our natural resources. I just thought it's important to frame and anchor why is the program important and why in its execution we should always keep in mind that it is not just a program, but it is an important element that enables us to continue with agricultural productivity in our country by making sure that we protect and maintain our natural resources. Chairperson, I've got a team led by the Director General, also with the acting DDG, who's responsible, who will then take us through in the detail, particularly on the principles as well as on the spending that we've seen on Q4 and the first quarter of 2022, as we have been requested by yourselves. These will relate particularly to those provinces that you have highlighted that will be part of this meeting. Thank you very much. With your permission, Chairperson, I would like to actually ask Mr. Serache to then take us through the detailed program.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Serache, DG.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Mr. Serache is on the platform, and with your permission, I will request him to take us through the presentation. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much to the members of this August committee for the opportunity. Thank you very much to Minister and to DG, senior government officials, my colleagues from Treasury and from the provinces. The presentation is going to be short and we'll be going through the expenditures of the first quarter of 22-23 and the fourth quarter of 21-22. It has been sent to the committee. I would hope they will flight it. Otherwise, I might on my side, but I don't think I've got presentation rights. If the administration can please get us to the second slide. While they're still doing that, honorable members,
I've given you, Mr. Serache, the co-host rights.
Okay, then I'll have to. Then I'm going back to my document. Okay, because I thought. Okay, just a sec. But while I'm still getting to that, I just need to mention that with us on this call, we've got the Registrar of Conservation of Agricultural Resources Act, Mayabu Suha. We've also got the Chief Director responsible for Natural Resources Management, Mechi Peta, who are part of the team that is leading this presentation. In the event of us maybe getting to the technical details, I may call on some of them or the registrar or the chief director responsible for to come on board. So I'm quickly going flighting the presentation, and I'll need indication if it's showing.
It is showing,
Yes, we can see it. We can see it.
Thank you very much. I think there was a network glitch, but I can hear you, Honorable Chairperson, and I'm on the slides, and if I'm allowed to get on, we can get started. The background, basically we'll be taking this August committee through the overview of the land care grant or the program itself, just in brief. And like I said, the financial performance of the 4 provinces as selected by this August committee. We'll then go through the performance of the other provinces and the challenges that we are encountering, and that which challenges the provinces concerned are aware of. And then basically the compliance and the recommendations that we think we should bring it to the attention of this August committee. This, like we said, and also as Minister has already indicated, the presentation in response to the invitation by the committee and it's going to be focusing on those provinces that the committee has selected. This program, the Land Care, is implemented through the concurrent action, or as passed in our constitution. It gives the national department the responsibilities of setting the scene, setting the framework, and ensuring that there are business plans that talk to the principles of CARA, as well as the processes of ensuring that provinces adhere to before they get allocation of this the grant, the DORA grant. Once that's done, then the trenches are transferred to the provinces, and provinces perform their land care operations as per the business plan that they would have submitted. The committee selected the following provinces: Gauteng Province, Limpopo, Northern Cape, and Northwest Province for this process, and we prepared our presentation to report specifically about these two provinces. So like I said earlier, this is, and also Honorable Minister mentioned it, land care gives rise to the provisions of the Conservation of Agricultural Resources Act. This ensures that as and when we go about producing food and fiber for the citizens of the country, we should not do that at the detriment of the resources that support production or agricultural production, and natural resources that once depleted, we may not be able to recover. The allocation for the year under the 21-22, apologies for the typo, it's supposed to be 21-22. The allocation that we had was 83 million. We've been able to transfer 80.5 million and registered expenditure of 74.5 million. And the province of Gauteng only received 2.2 from the allocation. They would have been entitled to 5 million, but because their processes, their financial performance was not satisfactory, they only got 2.2 of the what would have was due to them. And then quickly moving to the process of the business plan as part of the process of the framework. We prepare, just as a background, provinces have to prepare business plans that will talk to the real operations, real land care projects in their provinces, projects that should be able to ensure that agricultural resources are protected, and so that they help us continue to produce agricultural food and fiber. So that process led to us having we approach it through the form of business planning. Here to note, for the committee to note, is that Gauteng Province and Mpumalanga Province experience challenges when it comes to the designing and drafting and submission of business plans. And these are the business plans that we use to make a decision with regard to allowing the funds to flow to these provinces. So we've got challenges here, as you see even in the other following slides. The annual, so that's basically the matter that we need to raise. But other than that, this picture gives us 21-22 allocation and expenditure. You see Gauteng, like I said, they were allocated 5 million. They could only spend 2.2. Limpopo Province allocated 13 million and managed to spend 8.5. Northern Cape 7 million, managed to spend 6.7, which is almost there. And
you can close your DG.
The stately performance.
DG,
Okay.
you can close your video if your network is unstable.
Okay, doing that. I'm doing that right that way. Okay, thank you. So we've got this performance, like I've said, for 21. That was the 21-22. For the quarter one of 22-23, we've got the allocation, and we've not registered much at the time of preparing this, when we only looked at what we could confirm for Q1, we really only, the provinces were still, the performances were trickling in with Limpopo and Northwest having begun the process of transferring. But if we were to take information as at today, the numbers would be slightly different. This is only owing to the time, the report speaks to the timing. So at the end of the first quarter. So as if you were to ask information about the current situation, we may find that Limpopo and Northwest provinces have improved again in this quarter. And moving to the next slides, this basically gives us the output. What is it that ought to be done? This is basically us drilling down to what it means. When we talk of soil protection, the objective would have been to construct gabions. These are the stone, if you like, stone walls that are used to control soil erosion, prevent dongas, and ensure that the fertile soil does not get eroded away. And one of the other deliverable and outcome becomes the cultivation of the land that would have been rehabilitated and protected. And then we also do waterways and construct contours, also contours slow down the rate of water flow, which would automatically then erode prime agricultural soil. Rangeland management, this will talk to the hectares in this specific case that would have been rehabilitated and protected. This would be the where we would be seen provinces would have looked at their own situations and realized that there's a need for the grazing, the rangeland here referring to grazing, that grazing failed to be protected and rehabilitated. Overgrazing would lead to the degradation of the cover of the specific rangeland or irrigation field, and that has got to be rehabilitated to ensure that the species that would have been overgrazed, that would be nearing degradation, get rehabilitated back. And then we've got fire belts. Obviously, this is what we would need to increase performance on this one, because this helps us to not have severe veld fires in the years during the dry seasons of the year. So this is part of also one of the most important deliverables of the land care program. The bush encroachment, you've got species that thrive when there's poor conditions. So once overgrazing happens, the soil cover gets degraded, and when that happens, you then have pioneers species or species that would encroach. This would be species that encroach when that would not necessarily grow when the ground is covered with its natural cover, the vegetation, the crops, the plants that would be there. So once overgrazing happens, once degradation happens, we then have encroachments of bushes, small shrubs or bushes. And once the bush encroachment happens, we may not be able to rehabilitate back the land into production. Conservation of water resources as well. This talks to the wetlands. This helps in a symbiotic relationship between any ecosystem. You would have wetlands that would harbor aquatic animals and related crops. These crops in a symbiotic relationship would then sustain the neighboring or the surrounding ecosystem of an agricultural production, be it in the form of grazing or in the form of other animals, that the fauna and flora animals and crops that would assist in that ecosystem for it to ensure, so it is ensured that while we go about our production, the cultivation and all of that other processes, the ecosystem of that area still remains the same. Weeds and invader plants, this also would come in the fact that the minute we do not have the plants that are supposed to be there as dictated upon by nature, and our activities, our agricultural activities and actions would have impacted negatively on the natural situation. You then have weeds that invader plants cropping in, And this would be the plans that we then, using land care, ensure that we remove so that they do not overshadow or they do not take the space that is supposed to be taken by the crops and or vegetation or grazing rangeland that would be there. Junior land care, this is basically about the ensuring that as early as school going age, the youth get trained and get awareness is being delivered to these youth to ensure that these youth understand that the importance of taking care of the environment and taking care of the areas within which they exist, so that there's a harmonious coexistence of human beings and the natural vegetation. Awareness also continuing, so you'd have number of campaigns conducted, and then you'd have the people after the campaign. The expectation is that people will then be more aware, because then they would know that you don't necessarily have to remove the cover, you not necessarily have to remove the soil if it's not necessary. I mean, the cover of the soil, the shrubs or the trees or the grass that you find there that okay naturally, unless you really have to. And this is one of the things, but also for them to be aware of what I've explained as a symbiotic relationship between the wetlands and the normal agricultural setup. So that ecosystem has got to be maintained. So that this awareness goes a long way, so that by the time this youth or any other members of the community, but preferably youth, by the time they're adults, they would have had this information imparted on them. They would then know how to take care of the environment, and then we'll be able to still continue with farming activities without causing huge degradation of the natural land that within next to which or within which agricultural production takes place. Capacity building and exercises, this also just basically talks to training. And that's where you see skills level benefiting from capacity building. This basically is about training, about the different interventions and the different ways in which we ensure that we do not perform agricultural activities at the expense of the natural fauna and flora, at the expense of the natural environment that we've received from our ancestors, and we need to ensure that while we produce food and fiber, we do not cause harm to the environment. So you then have committees formed, as you know, committees and awareness. This just ensures that there's a adequate awareness of the communities, adequate awareness of the youth, adequate awareness of the farming community, and they would then know, they would be able to know which is an invader species and which are the weeds that need to be removed, and they should be able to detect and spot bush encroachments before it happens. They would also erect fences. This obviously would then, this would be the fences that would be to ensure that the grazing, that will enable, one, it would enable grazing rotation, but at the same time, this would enable ensure that we do not have degradation, like I said earlier. So part of the activities of land care is also about fencing of the grazing and arable land. So you separate those, because arable, the land in the main would be the ones that you need to cultivate crops on, and then you, at the same time, have to still ensure that the animals have adequate land for grazing. This is about fences, and it's part of the land care. And then you have the hectares of land under the system of conservation of agriculture. Conservation of agriculture, which is abbreviated as CA. This is a new normal, or a new norm that we need to begin to introduce. This is about ensuring that if you do not, use this example, if you do not really have to cultivate, that is, if you do not have to plow, if you do not necessarily have to bring a tractor and a plow, and can still be able to produce, put the seed in the soil without having to turn the soil around, we encourage that you do that. So the alternate ways of starting with the plowing, turning the soil out, and then doing all the other tractors, movement and everything else, we are beginning to see that science has taught us that we don't necessarily have to plow all the time. There are crops that can be produced without us having to till, traditional tilling, or without us having to bring tractor and a plow and a disc and all of those things. So this is conservation of agriculture, and we do have lately implements, if you like, equipment and implements that assist us to, for instance, like the example I've given, you're able to put seeds in the soil without having to plow the soil. So you've got specialized planters for this purpose. Now you then incentivize farmers who are able to change their production system to the conservation of agriculture linked cultivation processes. And then obviously that is followed by capacity building, ensuring that they are trained, because this is a change of the normal way of production. And towards conclusion, Honorable Chairperson, the province's business plans approval got finalized in June 2022, which is, if you look at it, it's the end of the first quarter, which is unfortunate. And there are delays in the system, which we are working on to ensure that we work towards ensuring that before the end of the calendar year, we are done with the business planning process, so that when the financial year starts in April, we already have tranches of the allocation sent to provinces. So this is not the case, and we know there were challenges, but we're working around improving how we go about this process. So we will only be able to verify the work, the actual performance and actual work performed during quarter one, during quarter two, where we are now. So Gauteng province has not, like I said earlier, has not yet finalized its business plan. So it also then it means it's challenging on the situation. We may not, again, we may not transfer any tranche to them. This gives a negative picture of the entire grant. Land care program was we respond to the UNEC, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the UN, all the processes that are geared towards ensuring the sustainable use of natural resources. So South Africa is within and among the other countries that are gradually ensuring that agricultural production does not happen at the expense of the natural resources, and then we do not, where possible, we continue with farming without disturbing the current situation, without disturbing the nature and the ecosystem that we would have found there. We are recommending that the committee note our presentation, the performance, and note the challenges that we faced with regard to Mpumalanga and Gauteng, and that this August committee also note that the funds, with this we said in our narrative, that the funds might not necessarily be enough to address the peculiar needs of different provinces, and that this process of land care grant is work in progress. Thank you very much, back to you, DG. Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much to the members of this August committee.
Thank you, sir. DG, do you want to say something before we give an opportunity to Treasury?
No, we submit, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okhalaleting, OC, please take over and open your video, please, if possible.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Emmanuel Pillay, good morning to you and members and Minister and the DG and colleagues. Emmanuel Pillay will do the presentation from National Treasury. Thank you. Emmanuel, please share the presentation and present.
Thank you.
Over
Good morning.
you,
Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson, honorable members of the committee, the Minister of Agriculture,
do you
MECs.
have, sorry, do you have the co-host the rights to can share your slide?
Okay, Chair, can I request that the department's presentation be taken off?
Okay. Can we take off the previous presentation? Thank you. Yes, yes, Mr. Pillay, you can put yours now.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Can you see the presentation?
Yeah, but it's not on the slide form.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Yes,
Please
good morning
open
once
your
again.
video.
It is open, Chair, on my side. Thank you, Chairperson. Once again, just in terms of the request by the committee, we'll be briefing the committee on the land care grant for the previous financial year and the first quarter of 22-23. So our presentation in terms of the spending numbers is relatively the same as the Department of Agriculture as presented there. So the land care program in terms of the purpose, as the department indicated in their presentation, in terms of promoting sustainable use of management of natural resources. So although this grant has a small allocation when you compare it to the other two agriculture grants, it does make a big impact in terms of food security and protecting the resources that we have, the natural resources there. So the grant outputs, the presentation by the department did indicate a number of outputs where they provided performance against the targets that they had. And they also explained quite in detail in terms of what the outputs are. So I'm not going to go through each one of them, but just to say, we didn't report on all the indicators, but what we did is we selected 4 of these indicators and reported on them. And our report covers the entire financial year rather than just the fourth quarter. So you might see some discrepancies in numbers, but just to indicate that our reporting covers the whole 4 quarters of the 21-22 financial year. Chair, in terms of the spending, as the department indicated, the key issues for us in terms of spending is 4 provinces. It's Gauteng, Limpopo, Northern Cape, and Northwest. We have underspent, and some of quite significantly. If you look at Gauteng, although we understand the funds were not transferred to the province, but there's issues that needs to be resolved there. Limpopo as well, quite significantly underspent, and Northwest not too bad, but Northern Cape was almost 40% underspent there. Just to say that although there has been underspending on these grants, we did run the rollover process in terms of unspent conditional grants, and provisionally I can just indicate that Limpopo will receive a rollover of around 3 million, Northern Cape about 1 million, Northwest around 200,000 rand. Gauteng, obviously the funds were not transferred to them, so they didn't have any funds committed. So that money will have to revert to the National Revenue Fund. So overall, we're looking at around just over 11 million that will have to be surrendered back to the National Revenue Fund because the funds were not committed at the end of the financial year and they remain unspent. So this equates to around 12% of the total allocation for all provinces. So it's quite unfortunate that for a small grant that has such a big impact that the department will have to surrender, or provinces will have to surrender around 12% of the funds that were allocated to them at the beginning of the financial year, which could have been used in terms of the purpose of the grant. So these are the 4 indicators that we selected. We have the information available for all the other indicators as well. So if the committee requires it, we'll be able to provide that. But just to indicate and give you an idea of how the province has performed. So one of the key indicators for us is the number of people that benefit from the grant. And you'll see that the performance has been quite sort of varied across provinces, with the exception of KZN and to a small extent Western Cape. Provinces have actually been performing poorly on this and have not been meeting their targets that they indicated at the beginning of their financial year or on their business plan. Gauteng, you'll see there, similarly with the Northwest, Northern Cape. And this somehow links to the poor expenditure that they had on the previous slide as well. If you go to the slide on the top, or the graph on the top right-hand corner, which deals with the alien invasive species and invader plants, and you'll see the performance as well has been a bit varied. KZN has been performing well, but then you'll find provinces such as Free State, Mpumalanga, Limpopo have not been performing well, or have not been meeting their targets on this 1 year. The bottom right left-hand corner, we have the kilometers of fence erected in the grazing and arable land space. So yeah, it's important that this land be protected by erecting fences, as the presentation by the department indicated, the reasons for those to protect the soil and keep it sustainable. So generally here we find that provinces have met their targets, but there's still issues on the ground, on the delivery of these targets, and we pick them up from the quarterly reports that we receive from provinces and the national department, as well as our interactions with provinces, because we meet with them on a regular basis in terms of their overall performance. And one of the areas we cover is conditional grants and the land care grant in particular there. The last one at the bottom right is the hectares of land under conservation agriculture. So the previous presenter did make mention of this, talking about the three principles of conservation agriculture. There's minimum tillage, crop cover, and crop rotation. So this is to maintain the sort of integrity of the soil, so that there's optimal productivity can be realized from the hectareage. So here as well, we did find some provinces performed well and others not so well. So Western Cape and KZN again, and Mpumalanga did perform quite well. But then we had provinces that did not, Limpopo, for example. There. So overall, on the grants, on these 4 performance indicators from the assessment, and we can draw some link to the previous slide in terms of poor spending, linking it to the poor performance on the outputs that they indicated. I think overall perspective, KZN and Western Cape to a certain extent have been the sort of overall good performance on the grant in terms of spending and performance for the 21-22 financial year. The first quarter of 22-23. Now, what we would have liked to have indicated here as well, besides just the spending and the budget allocation, is amount transferred to the province. But as the department indicated, there were no funds transferred to the province in the first quarter. So this has been an issue in the sector itself. So it's not a land care issue. It has been affecting other grants as well. So it affected the CASP grant as well as the LIMA grant. We know, for example, the allocations for the CASP grant were only made in August this year. And although the department had planned to deliver or to transfer funds in the first quarter of the financial year. So this is really a sort of concern for us because it's not the first year that it's been happening, and it's putting pressure on provinces. So this underspending that we're seeing here might very well be linked to the provinces not receiving their funds as it was planned. In terms of the approved payment schedule for the 22-23 financial year, the first transfer of the land care grant should have been made in April. So it gives provinces at least 2 months to have spent those funds. But those funds were not transferred to the province. Now we have been receiving queries from provinces. We have been interacting with the national department as well to ascertain the reasons for this. But it seems that the key reason for that, as the department indicates, is the business plan process that they have, and business plans not being signed on time. So obviously the funds can't be transferred on time. And provinces have complained about this during our midterm visits that we had with all provinces, that they basically could not start any projects or do anything until they received the funds. And because they didn't receive anything in the first quarter, the spending is at that level. So the spending you're looking at now, it's either accruals from the previous year coming through, or the departments are using their own funds to spend. So this is not conditional grant funds spending per se. It's funds that the department has sort of used from their own voted funds. So you can see overall very poor performance across all departments, all provinces in terms of this grant. KZN and Limpopo and Northern Cape to a certain extent did manage to spend some funds, but overall very poor performance. So what we would like to see is at least the provincial departments spend what's transferred to them. So agriculture is quite different from other sectors. I mean, some of their outputs can only be done at certain times of the financial year, for example, during planting season. So we don't expect a sort of uniform 25% expenditure on each quarter. But what we expect is at least they spend what's transferred to them in terms of what they planned and what they indicated in the business plan. But obviously this is not the case because funds were not transferred to provinces. And because of the funds not being transferred and the very poor expenditure in the first quarter, you can see the effect it has on the outputs. Very few places where you can see that there actually has been performance. It could have been performance coming from the previous year, or it could have been that the department used their own funds and then reported and achieved these outputs. But given the expenditure in the previous slide, we didn't really expect too much in terms of performance in the first quarter. So we're hoping in the second and third quarter, when funds are transferred, that the provinces will be able to catch up. And then hopefully we won't have any underspending and instances where funds are returned back to the National Revenue Fund. We prefer that the funds be used for the sector to deliver in terms of its purpose. So the chief risk or challenge that we see now, and even in the previous year as we indicated, was the late approval of business plans. And this is having a major impact in terms of how provinces receive their funds, or when provinces receive their funds. And obviously, because the funds are being delivered late or transferred late to the provinces, their projects are inevitably delayed. And because of this, we could have a knock-on effect, and the end of the financial year there's a very good possibility that there'll be underspending again, coupled with underperformance on their outputs. So some of the other reasons that contribute to the poor spending and performance is procurement delays in goods and services. So as I mentioned, that certain outputs can only be undertaken at certain points of the financial year during planting season, and if goods and services are delivered late, then the provincial department will miss that opportunity. Late appointment of service providers. So the fencing projects, I did mention earlier that provinces have been performing here, but there is some issues that they did pick up and report on that might need to be addressed. So, for example, some of the delays or difficulties they face is rain and the difficult terrain. The difficult terrain should be accounted for anyway in their planning, so it shouldn't really be a problem because it should be accounted for in the business plan. But other events outside their control, such as rain and inclement weather, do contribute to that. Materials delivered late, and the materials costs are quite high at sometimes, so the contractors decline orders on that. So our recommendation, the first thing, the most important recommendation is that the sector must look at streamlining their business plan process. So I've been part of their business plan process where they have the national assessment panels. Whenever we have the opportunity to do that, they run a very thorough process. So we don't have a problem in terms of their assessment, but there must be some streamlining of the process because there's something that's preventing the provinces from from getting their business plans approved on time by the national department. So there needs to be some sort of streamline to the process so that there's no unnecessary delays and funds can be transferred to the provinces on time as planned, so that their business plan can be implemented as they planned, with the required cash flow coming to the province as planned. Procurement delays also would need to be looked at, especially taking into account the seasonal nature of the sector and the outputs that need to be delivered. I did mention issues around the fencing, so the province probably have to look at their planning as well, so that they take account of these things. But obviously, you can't really account for natural disasters, for example, and rain. But they need to take some measure of planning into account there. And overall monitoring of the grant needs to be strengthened so that challenges are highlighted there. So, Chair, as I mentioned, the issue of business plan, I stress again, is not only a land care issue, it's an issue with CASP and ILIMA as well. So as a national department together with provinces, they really need to look at the whole business planning process for the whole 3 grants to ensure that funds are transferred to provinces on time. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pillay, Team Treasury. I think now we are stepping off the presentations. We will now give over to the members to engage with the presentations. But before then, I see my network is unstable. I might be cut off earlier. I have a few comments, and before I get into the comments, let me welcome and appreciate the presentations because they seem to be addressing what we have been concerned about, and they are aligned. There's just one thing, I don't know, maybe because I was too sensitive on each because I'm from Mpumalanga. The presentation from the first presentation, it talks about the poor from Mpumalanga. They're having a challenge in terms of their planning. Hence, it was difficult for them to get the money allocated to them or transferred to them. But the presentation from Treasury, it says in slide 5, is it slide 5 or 7? I don't know. I don't remember. It says that Mpumalanga is one of the provinces that they have presented, they have performed very well, where you're showing the performance for 2021-22. I need to be clarified on that. What is it exactly that is a problem? And generally in the first quarter, you're saying in all the provinces, there has been a problem in as far as the performance is concerned. So to both departments, I would like to know the specific steps that are taken to assist the sector to address the delays in the business plan approvals, because it seems that is where the problem is in terms of the planning, which result in it makes it difficult for you, and there will be a delay for other processes such as transfer of funds and appointment of contractors, as well as procurement. I understand because it's a conditional grants, and we've been very strong as the appropriation that conditional grants should be monitored very strictly, and the conditions attached to those funds must be respected. And it's also worrying that departments don't have plans to spend money. And I also understand that you can't just give money for the sake of giving, because if we do that, that money will then be used for something else that is not meant for. So you must be convinced that the plan that the province is having is speaking to the conditional grant. And obviously these delays, they have an impact in as far as the service delivery is concerned, because you are giving this money, or you are allocating this money as treasury to the department, to the provinces, because there is service that is needed at a grassroots level. Having said that, we have always collectively had a concern as appropriation that there should be value for money. And don't you think that these delays, I've heard Mr. Pillay saying you are doing monitoring and visiting provinces and engaging provinces, but still there are provinces that seem not to be getting it right. Maybe it's because there's no consequence management, in as far as that they don't worry if the money is being taken away from them or is not given to them. It's very worrying. I also raised the issue of the service delivery impact. The AG will come in, and if the AG comes in and finds out that the money has been spent, but the service delivery is not talking to what has been happening, I just hope that the provincial portfolio committee, the portfolio committees from the provinces, from the legislatures, can also pick this up, that we need to have value for money. Because if we keep on, nesting the situation and not whipping or making sure that there's a consequence management in as far as the failure to do the planning, and I think there are people who are paid to do the planning in the departments, but if they don't do the planning, it means they're not doing the work. And this individual or this unit that is not doing the planning in time and accurately is having an impact in the whole system, including Treasury and National Department of Agriculture and Land, and also the people who are supposed to get or to benefit from that grant. So there's a problem. At the end of the day, towards the end of the financial year, we will experience the fiscal dumping. So that is a very serious problem for me. I also want to know that what is the accepted turnaround time or scheduled to process business plans for this grant, and are the departments aware of this turnaround time? Because for you to monitor them and to also implement consequence management, that you can justify only if you have a turnaround time, but also to us as the oversight body, we need to know if we say we are not doing well, how do we justify that? I would like to know the turnaround time, if it's in place. Was there a valid reason really for Gauteng and Mpumalanga not to submit their business plans during the NAP? I've raised this before, but I just want to emphasize it. Was there a reasonable explanation why they can't? And if maybe it's because they don't have the necessary skill. What are they planning to do and by when? Because this money is not going to wait forever. I will also want to know that from both Treasury and the Department of Agriculture, whether are you able to assure this committee that there will be value for money and indeed there'll be an achievement through this program, including job creation, as we know that we do have a challenge of job creation as a country. Honorable members, I don't see your hands. Can I see members who have raised their hands who wants to engage with the presentation? I see Honorable Muletsani, Honorable Ryder. Who is Jax?
It's Honorable Scholar from Limpopo Legislature.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Honorable MSA. Jax, Honorable Karim, you last. In that order. Honorable Njadu, in that order. You can hit on Honorable Muletsani.
It's 10 hours.
Thank you, Chairperson. My apology for not switching on my video. I'm still on a sick leave, but I decided to participate. My question goes to the department. I just want them to just highlight to me which provinces are still facing the challenges around the delivery of fencing, and what are those challenges, and if are there any mitigating factors. For now, thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ntate Muletsani. Honorable Dennis Ryder.
Morning, Chair. I'm also going to turn my video off for the sake of the poor signal in Acacia Park. And I should also be on sick leave. So yeah, anyway. Chair, thank you for the opportunity. And I want to appreciate the attendance of the Minister of Agriculture. You know, obviously, after a year, the Finance Minister is yet to present himself
Honorable
to our
Ryder.
committee. But it's not, yes.
Honorable Ryder, why do you predict to be on a sick leave? You are such a healthy person. You won't be on sick leave. You can go on.
Can you not hear my voice, Chair? I sound like Barry White.
No, you're fine.
Barry White, please.
Yeah. Anyway, Chair, yeah, so after a year, our minister is yet to present himself to the committee. So we must acknowledge ministers that do come and take account for their departments. And so I appreciate the minister's attendance this morning. I had to chuckle, Chair. I wonder if Mr. Pillay, when he was studying his degree, realized he was going to become an expert in agricultural matters. But yeah, he did a fine job of trying to protect his colleagues today, but I think he failed. You know, to list business plans as a hindrance to getting the job done, Chair, and you touched on this in your comments. We can't just give money out if we don't know what it's going to be spent on. And business plans is not something new. If we look at the municipal infrastructure grant, it goes around business plans. With no business plan, no money. You know, that's a simple thing. So I don't think that business plans are a hindrance unless there's something funny that the department is doing in terms of their evaluation or long delays in terms of the evaluation. And frankly, looking at what the money is spent on, you know, it's not as if they're going to come with any great new innovative ideas. You know, it should be fairly straightforward. So I don't believe that business plans are a hindrance. But it would have been nice to hear from some of the MECs what their problems are. And that takes me to the next point, is that I don't believe that MECs are prioritizing this grant. And certainly, if we look at Gauteng, and I was appalled, obviously coming from Gauteng, I was appalled at the numbers and the issues around Gauteng that were highlighted, because realistically, the preservation of agricultural too, with the massive demand for residential land. Now, if one considers in Gauteng the proximity to the market, and of course the manufacturing and agri-processing potential that already exists in Gauteng, we should be prioritizing. But of course, the province is busy with other things, and their focus, many in the province feel that we should be, or if there is any potential to devolve this grant down to a municipal level where there are these projects. So if a province is not putting forward a business plan, if the door can be open to local municipalities, because, I mean, we spoke about the fact that there's concurrent responsibility, and it does go down all the way in environment down to the local municipalities. So perhaps this grant needs to be reviewed a little bit, and consideration being given to giving it to locals. Because I can tell you right now, Johannesburg municipality couldn't give a rodent's rectum about agriculture. However, if one looks at the West Rand municipalities, if one looks at Midvaal, at Lesedi, these municipalities certainly have a lot more of their local economic environment, their local GDP, tied up in agriculture. So certainly, the devolution of this grant is perhaps something that's worth investigating in order to ensure that there is appetite, to ensure that what we're trying to achieve from the department's point of view is done. You know, we see massive invasive species encroachment coming in a place like Gauteng. We've got pom-pom weed coming up everywhere, taking over. And it really is, it's an issue for the grazing on many farms, and formal and informal grazing. So yeah. Chair, that really is my input. I would like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ryder. Hope you get well, both yourself and Honorable Mletsani. Honorable Jacques Smail, do I pronounce your surname well?
It's close enough. It's smaller, but it's Honorable Smaller also. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for inviting the discussions to provinces that are being affected by this quarterly and annually financial reports. There's a few things that I would just maybe highlight, or maybe just ask questions towards maybe Treasury. And it is the quality of business plans that are being put forward by the various provinces and the approval of those. Is there general acceptance that the business plans are normally just being approved, or is there some degree of business plans that just does not meet the minimum requirement as being put forward in that regard? I'm not so sure if you are aware of the SIU report that has been finalized in the Limpopo province with reference to the fencing projects that relates to this program, with some very serious fingers being pointed towards maladministration and fruitless and wasteful expenditure, without going into too much detail. So it does speak to some of your earlier comments towards are we getting value for money, and how are we vetting the quality of information from a national perspective to determine those numbers. I am also concerned that numerous of the KPIs, or the prioritization of the funds that was put forward under the land care program. That is the first presentation that came about today. If you look at those annual KPIs, you will see the number 0 being put forward quite regularly on numerous of those KPIs. And I think it's a question that one has got to ask well before the completion of maybe the second or third quarter of why are those reasons, or why are they not pertaining into the various KPIs. We also note that from an early point of view, that there's sometimes a underspend in a certain grant by a province. And if we evaluate the effectiveness of DORA and the implementation of DORA, when it should kick in, if there is an overfeed of business plans that does meet the muster, but is not linked to the current budget that is set aside to provinces at that current given time, why is it not possible then in a much earlier stage, due to either the late submissions of business plans or to the quality of business plans, then to offer those budget allocations towards provinces that have been proactive in their planning and that have been proactive in the quality of their business plans? Is there such a possibility in that case? And thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for allowing Limpopo a few minutes on your platform.
Thank you very much, MEC. Honorable Eunice Karen.
Yeah, with the voice of Teddy Pendergrass, if that guy's Barry White. Chairperson, I just want to ask, I'm focusing on Emmanuel's input mainly, but a general comment I want to make is, Chairperson, I'm not sure if it's just me, or maybe you get tired of listening to the same sort of issues for over, 28 years now in this parliament. But overall, given the importance of this issue, my own feeling is that, and it may be subjective, is that it's a very lame presentation overall, really. I mean, given the crucial importance of what we're dealing with. Let me just take one example of it. I focus on this because Treasury is more directly accountable to us. It's not a reflection on Emmanuel or any individual in Treasury, but for example, just look at the last slide from Treasury, right? So it says business plan process to be streamlined. So what? It could be said about most things, most projects, most programs. Procurement delays need to be looked at. Overall monitoring needs to be strengthened. Now, what does that mean? You could say it about most projects, right? But there's no reflection on how is this going to be streamlined. Now, of course, I'm very clear, Chairperson, as indeed I'm sure all of us are. There's a concurrent power and function as set out in the Constitution. It's not the responsibility of National Treasury and the Department of Agriculture to deal with these issues. They're meant to provide frameworks, guidelines, and then monitor to the extent the Constitution allows one to monitor provincial performances, right? It's a provincial legislature primarily, and ourselves who must actually oversee the effective implementation of programs. So I know that. So, I know that Treasury and the department can't instruct, right, provinces in this case because of the nature of the distribution of powers and functions in terms of the Constitution. But it is very lame. I mean, what does this mean really? How are business plans meant to be streamlined? Is the National Department of Finance and Agriculture doing something to assist the provinces? Are the provinces doing enough, even with their limited capacity and resources? Procurement delays need to be looked at. How? What? What are the timelines? Who's going to monitor this? What power does the Treasury have to effect this? What happens in the bin mix of agriculture? Overall monitoring needs to be strengthened. I mean, this could be said I mean, it's so abstract, so like almost meaningless. Now, I am not focusing on Emmanuel Pillay. This is the way officials respond. And what do we do as MPs? We do exactly the same. Chairperson, let's be frank, talking about myself in the first instance, since I'm most culpable, since I've been here so long, and I've chaired many committees here. We do the same thing. We will say, okay, overall monitoring needs to be strengthened, and then nothing will happen. So, Chairperson, the public deserves better than what we are having here on both sides, the executive and ourselves. What are we going to do about this, Chairperson? What are we going to do about ensuring these things? Let's take Treasury. I'm just taking, I could do the same with the Department of Agriculture, but I feel less at ease to do so because there is an NCOP committee that deals with that. There are provincial legislatures that deal with it. But I mean, in what way have we advanced action or guides to action by having this sitting? In what way is Parliament better empowered to hold the executive to account? And we'll have another briefing a year from now, and it'll be the same, Chairperson. So, you know, we've said this before, our content advisor and our researcher and our secretary need to draw up a one-pager on action. And how are we going to monitor it? And much of this takes place offline, Chairperson. I know you are under pressure. So am I as a committee's chair. But our staff is meant to help us. And you have a very good staff in this committee, really world class. Look at the staff you have. I don't know the researcher very well, and I'm sure she's great. But the other three are superb. So we have the ability here, but we have to once again go back to this point. It's the provincial committees on agriculture and finance that need to, on an almost day-to-day basis, not literally, but quarterly, monitor this and send us their reports, as we must send our reports to them. I sound like a crack record, Chairperson, but you know what? It may be because I'm on my way out now. How many months are left before this term ends? If I survive this term, even another 16 months or so. We cannot continue like this, Chairperson, 28 years beyond the democracy having been established, or at least being started. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Karim. Honorable Njatu, you're the last on the matter.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good morning to all the members and National Treasury, Land Affairs. Chairperson, we all understand that, especially in the rural areas, provinces where animals are walking, crossing the roads. My question is that to what extent does the sector ensure that proper fencing is done to keep the animals away from the road to prevent road accidents, which I believe, Chairperson, is happening regularly in rural areas? And then, Chairperson, further also to the turnaround time. What is the accepted turnaround time or scheduled to process business plans for this grant? Because we on the National Treasury and the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, what specific steps are taken to assist the sector to address the delays in the business plan approvals, which result in the delays for other processes, such as transfer of funds and appointment of contractors, as well as procurement? Chairperson, that is my input. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Njatu. We have now had the questions. We are going to hand over to the departments to deal with the responses and clarity-seeking questions that came from the members. I will start with agriculture. I don't know if the minister is still on the platform. Maybe she will want to comment or give her remarks before she leaves. Is she still here, Lubabalo? Honorable Tidiza is still here?
Hello, Chair. I think, Chairperson, the minister left at around 10 o'clock, Chair, because remember she indicated that she must attend the cabinet meeting, Chair.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me hand over to Team Agriculture.
Maybe, Chairperson, before you hand over to my senior colleagues, you may consider checking if the MECs are still on the platform. If one or two are still on the platform, maybe invite them to say a few words. I don't know, Chair.
Okay, we had only one MEC speaking. Do we have another MEC on the platform who will want to speak? Thank you for that, Lubabalo. We seem not to have another MEC on the platform. Can I give the officials from agriculture to respond on the questions, and please just go straight to the
Honorable Chairperson.
Yes, who's that?
MEC Monopoly of Northern Cape.
Oh, okay. You can comment, Honorable MEC.
No, Honorable Chairperson, thank you very much for this opportunity. Honorable members, thank you as well. And then I'm not sure if MEC Despo of Northwest is still on the platform, and then also DG and DDG is present, and senior managers. Mine, Chair, I think both presentation of the National Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development and Treasury have captured us as a province. And I think they noted that the last financial year, last financial year, we have received the allocation late, but as a province, we always committed to spend the money. The team here in the province, in administration, had made sure, came up with a plan to ensure that the funds allocated to us, it was spent. So they managed to develop a strategy how to spend that money and be able to. So you can see that even though it's 77%, we receive our allocation on the third quarter. And as the department, they managed to ensure that they spend it and highlighted with the delay that is forwarded. And as we're sitting here as well now, the team that is led by the DG have also presented that the process of finalization of the business plan of the allocation of this financial year is still with them. So we are sitting here and as well as waiting for the leadership of the minister and as well the DG collective to ensure that they assist us in improving the system moving forward. So we are committed as the Northern Cape province to work with national department to ensure that or if any challenges that are encountered from our side or nationally, ensuring that we speed up the process of the approval of the business plan should be able to be addressed. And also as well in our side, we try our best to ensure that the team ensure that they spend the money allocated. So that's what I wanted to say, that we are committed to ensure that we spend the money and as allocated in before. So even now, we will commit that the team have to our oversight to ensure that they do spend the money that's going to be allocated to them. So that's what I wanted to contribute and commit to the honorable members in the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mase, and thank you for coming to the platform. I haven't seen you in a long time. Honorable Karim, that's my friend. We share history. We've been together in the trenches, and it's a good thing. I was going to call you if you didn't comment, and you are mentioned as Northern Cape under your leadership. I was going to talk to you, but thank you for the commitment. Any other MEC who's on the platform? None so far. I hope I'll not be called to go back. DG Agriculture. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. We will go through the responses from the honorable members of the Select Committee. Firstly, let's thank the questions and the comments that have been made. I will request through you, Honorable Chair, that we try and traverse through this in a way that I will propose that we go through the department and then we can go through the HODs, my colleagues who are on the platform, who would also want to make inputs on the issues that are here. I've noted that we have got HOD of Northwest, HOD Gauteng. We have got Limpopo also here, although I didn't see the HOD. And just now, Honorable MEC Marupolo had indicated that she's on the platform, but I've also noted that the HOD is on the platform on the matters. But from the department side, I would like to, in this order, request that we take the responses from the person who's directly accounting for land care, Mebo Soha, and we go through to Me Siguen Chibeta, who's also in the very same program, and then we can take the DDG responsible for the program, that is Rahe. And I will then request that we go to the HODs, then I'll wrap up in terms of the overall view as guided by the Honorable Chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. We will start with Mayor Bosoha, going to Mayor Chipeta, and then Tate Saraha will come in. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. Good morning, and thanks for the opportunity to respond. The first question that I would like to start with is the question in relation to the performance of Mpumalanga. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. You may proceed.
Yes, you are.
You are, madam. You are audible. You can continue.
Thank you. The first question was in relation to the performance of Mpumalanga, wherein the indication was with regard to the performance, though they had a late start. Indeed, Mpumalanga did have a late start. However, when they received the initial transfer, they had added a number of beneficiaries on the ground that then led to a number of people benefiting, or land users benefiting, becoming more and being recovered. And therefore, they started late, but then they ended up with the grant as expected. The second question in relation to KZN and Western Cape being able to do better, both provinces, they are having equitable share. They are not only depending on the land care grant, and that make it easier for them to be able to perform better. Others, they are waiting for the approvals, and at times when there are hiccups, then both suffer due to late delays, but also I think then it affects the overall output. The overall challenges that relates to the business plan processes, that some transfers are being delayed is specifically to deal with the quality of the business plan, that it fits within the overall grant framework. We have 5 focus areas, and at some point there are challenges in terms of distribution, but also in terms of getting the detailed information in the business plan. And that relates to a number of provinces where in the rangeland specialists, the soil specialists are limited in the provinces. And that in terms of developing the farm plans, which are going to direct the sites where the business plans are going to be implemented, create some delays. And such then, in terms of ensuring accountability of the reports that are coming and also the quality of the document, at times have those challenges. Overall, I think the program has value for money in the essence that when you look into the current disasters, the interventions that the land care program are dealing with are more of mitigating and preventative in nature. And in areas where there is those conservation works provided, such as fencing, in areas where there has been better cover, when drought hits, those areas are better affected than the overall. So the value for money for this program from the national perspective is that land degradation is being mitigated. The challenge may be the limited resources that is being shared among the different focus area in such that then there is those limitations. However, if you look into the impact of the program in addressing the land degradation, the cost of implementation is huge, but the limited availability of funds. The planning time, there is a cycle that we adhere to in the framework, in which guidelines are provided to the provinces around June, and by September they are supposed to be completed with their business plan, and we host the national assessment panel around November, so that when there are any challenges national, then deal with the province and support the province in terms of addressing those challenges. For instance, if there is limited GIS capacity in the province, national will send their team to the province so that they could be able to map the areas where interventions are going to be implemented. And with that, then we are giving that opportunity between January and March so that everything else is signed off. And by the 1st of April, we are able to transfer. But as indicated, the challenges of capacity, aging workforce in some of the provinces results in a lack of quality input, and that then delays the transfer of the grant. There has been instances where, due to challenges in one provinces, we are able to transfer the funds to another province for them to be implemented. But in all essence, we are always cautious about the farmers who are residing in the province where the funds are going to be transferred. So we are trying with all efforts to ensure that those farmers are supported, or the province is supported. From the national side, we bring the team to sit with the province and identify where there is lack of capacity, and with the capacity at national, then be able to complement and support one another so that the farmers in that province do not suffer. There are some of the KPIs indeed that are zero, and there are some of the KPIs that the province are doing well. And in that is also about the sharing of the financial resources that they are having. If the provinces have more of a challenge of a drought in the third area, that area will be capturing more of their resources than when the degradation or in the area of awareness or capacity building. depending on the reality of the province challenge at the time. And in most cases, if there are any issues that we need to address with that KPI, there will be engagement among us as the national and the province to be able to look into the overall picture of the province and say, on the basis of a drought that is there, indeed, this can be provided a better or a higher allocation. Our procedures are very clear that there is certain roles that are performed by the national and there is certain roles that are provided by the province. Some of the procedures is facilitating the transfer. And for us to be able to facilitate the transfer, we are looking into the previous expenditure of the business plan and also the outputs that have been reported. We do have, as national quarterly meetings with the province to check up the progress of what is happening and also send our teams to the province to check what is on the ground. And at times, if there are those challenges of expenditure and there is need for us to not to transfer so that we fine tune and address the challenge on the ground. With regard to the procurement issues, we have been encouraging the provinces for the fencing purposes and others to utilize the RT contracts that are there, because then it manages the supply chain management challenges that each province can be able to experience. So for that, if they're utilizing the RT contracts, we have seen such processes assisting a lot in terms of fast-tracking the procurement. I think how we are able to address and ensure that we do have the value for money as part of our national assessment panel. We are roping various stakeholders, including our Treasury colleagues, so that we are able to look into this business plan and be able to reflect on what are the current challenges and what is the focus of and the mandate of natural resource management to be able to merge the two with the need for us as the program to create jobs, to manage the land and also use the land productively. Thank you, DG, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much to the department. Let me first address the way forward of the meeting. The chairperson have called me that she have got some challenges, and then as the whip of the committee, I will be taking the meeting forward. And then just to give us in terms of going forward is that we are receiving responses as the members have asked questions. So we are with the department now as to say, is there any follow-up responses from the department?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. We still have got responses. We will then go to Mayor Chipeta, who's the Chief Director in the line, and also go to Ntate Saraga, after which, Chairperson, with your permission, we would also like to give an opportunity to the HODs who are on the platform, who come from the different provinces, just to make an input with your permission. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. DG presenter is welcome.
Mr. Saraga.
Thank you, honorable members. And like I said in the chat, Ms. Mechipeta has a challenge. So I will be able to articulate the responses that she should have made, but we are in conversation in the background. So she has a speech challenge, a little challenge. So she won't be able to talk with the indulgence of the committee. The quick one, I think we as a national department, we notice the challenges that we have, and we need to provide. We know that we've been entrusted with this huge responsibility of assisting the country in the form of assisting provinces. Honorable Karim said it very well, and I think he echoed the sentiments of all honorable members that you are tired of our excuses as officials. We take that very close to the heart, and we are going to improve on the situation. This, in the main, relates to the business plans. All the honorable members from Honorable Reida, Honorable Smale, Honorable Mletsani, Honorable Mletsani also touched on the issue of fencing, which I'll come back to. But all other honorable members, Honorable Jatu, Honorable Karim Reida, as well as the Honorable Chairperson, they all of them raised their concern relating to how we handle the business plan process. So I therefore put it to the committee that we will, from this meeting, and also having realized the seriousness of the challenges of poor performance of the process.
Okay.
Need assistance. So we'll be convening a workshop wherein we are going to zoom into province by province and allocate officials from financial administration, from M&E, from the national department, and work with those provinces. This will, if one, help them to perform during the current financial year, but also will be able to assist them to come up with realistic and easier to implement business plans for the coming financial year. So the issue that was raised by Honorable Chairperson about Mpumalanga, that has been addressed. The issue of the fencing by Honorable Welezani, I think it's a matter that can be ventilated upon, but the space within which Honorable Welezani referred to might in most cases be that the space of the competence of SANRAL or the other sphere of government. So the fence that we are able to allocate here relates to fencing, in the main fencing, range field, grazing field, and agricultural production. It may not necessarily be for to take care of livestock that cross regional and national roads and cause accidents, but it's a matter that we can ventilate with our colleagues in other spheres of government. Not necessarily, it will not necessarily fall within the framework of land care. So in short, we will we commit. You make this opportunity to commit that we will zoom in and assist provinces one after the other, because their challenges are in most cases the same, but there are those peculiar challenges that require focused attention. This relates to their capacity to procure, and like Mayor Suka has mentioned, some provinces make use of equitable share to start the process, but that's not acceptable. That's not how it should be. We should be able to complete the process early this year, by the end of this calendar year, to ensure that by come the financial year in April, provinces are ready, and those that have challenges have been assisted. So we are making this call and the commitment. Probably DG has the net connection challenge. If it's not,
I thought you had a problem with the network, so I wanted the chair to guide. Thank you very much, and Chair, if you allow us, we will then go. I know that Honorable MEC Manapola had already represented the Northern Cape, but with your permission, if we can request that we have got HOD Gasela for Gauteng coming in. We have got HOD Mokhatla coming in for Northwest, and then we will have HOD Maisela or the representative. I saw that this email on the platform, and then we can. I'll conclude on the issues, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. You may proceed. Over to the HODs. Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Njadu, I can hear you, but I'm not sure anyone else is listening to us.
Yeah, there's
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Thank you. Welcome.
Sorry about the confusion. Good morning to you, Chairperson, and good morning to honorable members. Good morning, DG. Good morning to all the officials on the call. And thank you very much for the opportunity that has been given to ourselves. It is very disheartening, honorable members, to see the performance of our province in particular in regard to the land care program. It is not because we do not appreciate its importance. It is not because we do not acknowledge the criticality of this program. However, the truth is that we have had challenges, and some of the challenges have unfortunately been internal challenges. We have had challenges of capacity in the department, and I know that that is not an excuse that any of you would want to hear, but the truth is that we only had 2 officials who were allocated to this particular program, and one of them then had a very serious illness problems such that he is incapacitated as we speak. However, we are dealing with the problem or with the challenge. We also had an issue with our structure, which issue has now been resolved. So in respect of the fact that that issue has been resolved, we are busy capacitating the program itself, and we have actually got other people, other officials to come on board so that the program itself doesn't suffer as it had. We can commit on this platform that going forward, we will ensure that the program does not suffer as it had. Honorable Chairperson, we do have a strategy to ensure that this program does perform and that it performs optimally. One of the things that we've done presently is that we have employed 234 graduates who are going to assist us in dealing with this program. Over and above the 234 graduates, we also have 156 EPWP people, young people that we've already employed. We also have lined up a tender on alien vegetation removal, which is going to kick in as soon as the money has been transferred. We also acknowledge the challenges that have been highlighted by the national province, which challenges we are dealing with. We are going to be having an engagement on the 5th, which is on Monday, and we're hoping that after that engagement, everything will be sorted out and that we will be able to continue with the program. That will be all from myself for this morning. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. DG, the next HOD.
Northwest, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Welcome.
Chairperson.
Hello.
Hi, Chair. With your permission, Chair, maybe you may consider advising HOD Northwest, because by the time you were calling for him, he was still on the waiting list. I accepted him at that moment. So I doubt if the HOD is aware that he has been given a platform to say a few words.
All right, DG, can we then proceed with the next HOD?
The next is Limpopo, and I think that would be the last from our side, and then we can go to the finalization from our side. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, DG.
Thanks, DG, and greetings to the honorable members. Just to give you some glimpse in terms of Limpopo, how we're faring, and also outlining some of the strategies, to mitigate, the poor implementation of the program. And a lot has been mentioned since this morning, including the DDG in terms of, the late approval. And I'm sure DG can concur that, the head of the department for Limpopo, that has been, in communication, to ensure that we expedite the processes for implementation. And the head of the department, she wanted to be part of this meeting, but they are on a mission in Namibia with the MEC. But to mention is that indeed it's agreeable that processes have not come to fruition for the past 3 years, wherein as provinces we have raised the issue of poor expenditure, and you'd find that, for instance, in the previous financial year, wherein there's been a spike, from January to March end, in terms of expenditure because of the approval which was sought in October in the third quarter. And that appears as a poor expenditure, but clearly it is because of our, the receipt of the approval of the business plan, which was not, in accordance with the grant framework. Because as you've seen now, we're already preparing the business plans as provinces, wherein in terms of our timeline, wherein by the 30th of September, all provinces should have submitted to the National Transferring Officer. And our hope is that before end March, we should have received notification of the decision, of those, the business plan. But because as provinces for Limpopo, we are ready to ensure that we put momentum in the process and the expenditure to be expedited. We have put in place the term contracts, for instance, fencing, PPE, and including, appointment of EPWP workers, so that once we are in receipt of the approval, we leave no stone unturned, but to ensure that we move with speed. Because as per the division of revenue, as the receiving officers, we need to ensure that we have capacity to implement, and we have reorientated in terms of the reconfiguration of the structure to ensure that there is indeed capacity at the province, including going to the lower level at the local space. So we can assure you, DG, that we do have capacity in the province, and once we've got approval for 2023-24, which we are currently in the process of finalizing the business plan, there's going to be a sitting for provincial assessment panel in August to send the business plan that are recommended by PAP to the national level. So we're hoping that going forward, there will be a seamless process to ensure that, there are no delays, and as provinces, we can, be in line with the grant framework in terms of, compliance. And that is in short, DG from the Limpopo. Thanks.
Thank you very much. For Limpopo, over to you, DG.
Northwest is ready, Honorable
Okay, I see them now. Okay, Northwest.
Problems.
Okay, Mr. Mokatla.
This gadget that I'm using. Oh, here we go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and members.
Okay, DG. Mr. Mokatla, you there?
I'm still. Thank you very much, Chairperson. As I was saying, the gadget that I'm using is giving me problems. Yes, as far as Northwest is concerned, Chair, in the previous year, Q4, we had a variance of 2.64% underspending. That was due to the chemicals shortage at the end of the financial year. And we requested approval for rollovers, which was done. And we can report, Chair, that the chemicals were delivered and the service providers paid in the new financial year. And Q4, we experienced challenges at the shipping start, where the land care project is supposed to happen, where the traditional leader refused training of workers there, as well as the delivery of materials. However, the MEC is in the process of resolving the issue with the traditional leadership, Chairperson. Chairperson, with regard to the first quarter, in terms of our APP, our target there for the first quarter is 0. And then we will, in the second quarter, realize expenditure. However, during the first quarter, we conducted awareness campaigns and workshops were held. We procured chemicals and PPE, and workers are being employed to start work in the second quarter. And then we are sure that we will be able to spend what was given to us. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much to Northwest. Over to you, DG.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and to the honorable members, and for the time that has been given for the different provinces and for the department to respond. Let me paraphrase. I think that Honorable Karim went and reflected on the issues that I had hand, and maybe let me focus myself on the slide that was given by National Treasury. Maybe it was a little bit cryptic in terms of the work that is being done at a very high level between ourselves and National Treasury, Honorable Karim, where we are now in line with ensuring that right through all the programs that we are implementing and ensuring that we have got a quicker way of resolving challenges, whether at the planning or execution phase, we can be able right through the 9 provinces and right through all the national departments, the 2 national departments. We are resuscitating the 10x10s where all the provincial treasuries and the national departments of agriculture and rural development in their various forms would be coming together to deal with the issues at a very high level. At a MINTEC level, which reports to the MINMEC, we are also looking at how do we then deal with the issues relating to specifically the planning part, because the biggest issue here is compliance to the GRAM framework, which some of the provinces find it very difficult until we are very late. If you look at the timelines that we have, with the planning starting now, having started in June, culminating with the proposals being submitted in and around end of September, and us going to finalize the issues in November, I think it's in line with us doing it quicker, because if we could conclude everything in November, it gives us ample time to go for implementation on the 1st of April per se. And therefore, the issues in terms of capacity within the different provincial spaces is what we are looking at MinTech. And we will be able to then deal with this particular aspect at that level. And I think that's in a cryptic form, the issues that National Treasury would have wanted to raise, speaking on behalf of my colleagues at National Treasury. There is an issue around the engagements on how do we ensure at a national level that we have got M&E capacity on the work that we are doing. We have got capacity to do M&E, and we're also conducting a lot of audit on the issues on the matters relating to land care, because of its importance to our country. Firstly, relating to the issue around employment, where we can get jobs being created very close to where the people are staying, while at the same time taking care of the nature and food security in the area. So that's the importance that we wanted to reflect on. I think the essence that was reflected, Honorable Chairperson, from the different provinces reflects on the need for us, as we move towards just transition, to also look at this area of work, which is clearly a part and parcel of how do we deal with issues around adaptation, climate adaptation and mitigation, as an important aspect of our work. And as indicated by the DDG, indicated by all the HODs, we stand ready in terms of the MinTech and the way that we engage in terms of the 10 by 10s to deal with this issue around spending, especially on the land care programs and other programs that we have that have got transfer payments to the provinces. I would like to pause here, Honorable Chair, because of the responses that have been given by my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DG. And to all the provinces for the responses. I think now we will then go to National Treasury on the questions that was raised from the members.
Thank you, Chair. So we've been largely covered by the DG and the HODs and colleagues from the agriculture sector. I will ask Mr. Pillay to start, then I'll finish up the responses, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Mr. Pillay.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. So just in terms of the business plan process, so the framework of the conditional grant, of each conditional grant, has got a section towards the end that talks about the process for approvals of business plans. So I'm just looking at the 2023-24 business plan process, which is for next year. As the DG indicated, the process starts quite early. So it starts in June 2022 already, with the department providing guidelines. And it culminates towards the end with the requirement, or the point there, that the business plans need to be approved before the transfer of the first quarter transfer. Now, if you look at the payment schedule for the current year, the first transfer is intended to be made around the third week of April, which wasn't done. But just to say that if you look at the time frame from June to when the business plan is actually approved, it's at least 9 months. So that process needs to be shortened somehow. And whatever happens in between, we don't have the full details of it because it doesn't show up on the process itself. For example, the time the time frame of September, we don't see it on the framework over there. So there needs to be some sort of process of shortening the process without obviously taking into account the quality. So the quality is not compromised at the end of the day. Ideally, we'd like to see the business plan approved before the beginning of the financial year, and not before the first quarter transfer, so that we know at least by 31st of March it's signed off and approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pillay. Any further input from National Treasury?
Yes, Chair, thank you very much. So maybe just to indicate about the issues around whether is there stopping and reallocation. Just to indicate that the Division of Revenue Act allows for stopping for and reallocation for grants. But generally what we see from other sectors like human settlements, transport, you find that, or education, there's an agreement at MINMEC that certain provinces will not be able to spend and deliver on the targets they had. So therefore, then the sector agrees that money needs to be stopped from certain provinces to go to other provinces. So it's a sector decision to do that. From our side, we just most of the time either agree or disagree and approve that and gazette the allocations in that regard. So in terms of the consequence management as well, the Division of Revenue gives those, there are some sort of consequence management in the sense that the Division of Revenue Act gives powers to the transferring officer to withhold if they of the view that either there is no delivery or like the issues around business plans as has been highlighted. And ultimately, as we have seen with Houghton, that there were some funds that were stopped, were not really in the previous financial and not transferred to the province because of poor spending. So such are the mechanisms that exist within the grants frameworks to deal with such. And also, I think on the issues of specific steps taken, as we I think probably have highlighted previously even to the committee on different grants, is that we've got various monetary mechanisms that we do. We meet with the sector on a quarterly basis to look at these challenges that provinces are experiencing. I think for us, it's also a pity because if you look at Landcare is one of the longest running grants despite its size, but it has been there, I think, probably more than 15 years now, if I'm right, or if not 20. So it's one of those grants that have been there for, so when we encounter this kind of challenges, because generally these challenges, we see them in new grants where the sector is trying to find their feet. But I'm just saying that we will also work with the sector to ensure that these challenges are addressed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much for the inputs from National Treasury. I see hand of Honorable Ryder. I just want to double check, is National Treasury done? Nothing further from National Treasury?
For now, we're done, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ryder, I see your hand.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a new one. Thank you, Chair, because, you know, I was sitting here despairing at the lack of input and the lack of anything different that was going to give me any hope that we'd see better spending. Right up until the end, when Mr. Pillay came in, and he actually gave a very brief comment. It was so quick that I almost missed it. Now, you must understand, I'm not feeling my normal, accommodating, friendly self today. But he made a comment around the time frame of probably the most important thing for us to interrogate today. And if I can ask him to unpack that comment for us very briefly, just to say, you know, yeah, maybe he did it then and I didn't hear it properly. And so please bear with me if that is the case. But The question is, where does the fault lie in the long process with the business plan? Is it lying with agriculture department, or is it lying at the provinces? If you can just help us to find out how to unblock this thing, because I think Mr. Karim was quite correct in his assertions. This is important, and Treasury's made the point now right at the end as well that this is not a new grant. We see these issues with new grants. This is an old grant. So where's the problem lying? Let's fix it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ryder. I think the question is specific, Mr. Pillay.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. So when we look at conditional grants across the spectrum for all sectors, so generally what we have in terms of the planning process, if you look at the framework and what the province or the sector indicates as timeframes, the process generally starts perhaps somewhere in August, September, with the sector and the provinces. So whatever is in the framework in terms of the process, the timelines, the processes to be followed, is all determined by the sector. So it obviously depends on how the sector is set up to deal with the different aspects of business plans and the processing. Some sectors are in terms of their processes, their provinces have good capacity in terms of their planning, so they're able to put together business plans quickly without much issues, especially with the grants that are established long in the process. So what we are saying, although the process starts in June and it only ends in April of the following year, so which is a long protracted process. And there's obviously many other processes that we are not seeing on the framework itself. The example I mentioned was the one of September, which doesn't show up on the framework. So we're not sure, maybe the department or the sector, so the national department together with the provinces should look at these processes. Are they really necessary without, and we must stress this, without compromising the quality of the business plan at the end of the day, because we want quality business plans that can be implemented over there. So the time frame seems to be a bit longer if you compare it to other conditional grants, and the way the sector together with the national department, the provinces plan and coordinate the whole business planning process. So we'd like to see it at least concluded by the end of the financial year, so before the beginning of the new financial year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pillay. Honorable Ryder, you still have another bite?
No, look, I think that's a good answer, Chair. Thank you. It's not rocket science. There's little room for new thinking. Business plan should be straightforward. And that needs to be unplugged. And I look forward to seeing it happening. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ryder. Any further comments? Any further inputs from provinces, from any member, from the members? Just checking to double check whether there are any further from National Treasury, the department. If there are none, I think from the committee side, that there are things that we believe that we are in agreement from this briefings that we received from the Department of Land and Agriculture, and also from National Treasury. I think we are in agreement that this program is an important program, and that we will have to look as to how do we change the situations within service delivery and also job creation, because the department is this program is very important. I think we are in agreement of that. And also we are in agreement that this is an old grant. It's not a new grant. and then the challenges which are there and the obstacles which are there needs to be removed, because we are hearing a lot of the word poor poor spending. So I think that is things that we need really to go and look, so that when we meet next time, that we come with more concrete on the spending trends, overspending, underspending, wasteful expenditure, so that we look as to how can we improve as we, as the National Council of Provinces, as the Appropriations Committee. Our mandate is to do oversight, is to make sure that funds that was being allocated are spent, so that we ensure people on the ground are getting the services that is required. So I think in summary that it's a collective moving forward, is that we making sure that value for money, planning, implementation, monitoring and evaluation is something that I think we have to move together going forward. And with those few comments, is to thank all the members of the Appropriation Committee of the National Council of Provinces, to thank National Treasury, and also to thank the Department of Land and Agriculture, and also to thank all the provinces and all stakeholders, the Minister in her absence, and to thank also the Minister to attend this meeting this morning, and to say that I think we have come to the end of our presentations, and also the responses that we have received, questions from members. And then on that note, to excuse the stakeholders, and then we'll quickly, as members, just to endorse the minutes of the previous meeting. Anything, Lubabalo?
No, nothing except what you have just outlined, Chairperson. Nothing more.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you to all the stakeholders. Okay, we will come quickly back to the minutes. Can we fly the minutes, Babalo? Those are the minutes of the 10th of August. To the participants in the first, and then we'll have the departments, National Treasury departments attended, and then introduction, the hearing informal settlement, upgrading partnership grant. Can move on. Department of Home Settlement, deliberations that we have received. Can move on. Okay, can move on. Okay, consideration of draft minutes, and that is the adjournment of the meeting. Are there anything from any member on the minutes, corrections, anything? If not, can we get a proposal for the adoption of the minutes?
I move, Chair. Eunice.
Yes, Honorable Karim is moving for the adoption of the minutes. Seconder?
I'll second, Chair Ryder, I think.
Thank you, Honorable Eunice and Honorable Ryder. Then that brings us then to the end of this meeting, and to say thank you very much once more, and have a good day. Thank you very much.
No, Chair, before you close, there is a second set.
Oh, the second set. Oh,
Yes,
24th of August. Sorry. I thought it's one set. Okay, the second set. Can we move on 24th of August? And move on. Okay. Move on, Babala. Then move on. Deliberations. Then move on. Closing remarks. That is the adjournment of that meeting, which was at 11:54. Any clarities for corrections from the members? If not, any proposal for the adoption of the minutes?
Chairperson, I can't see anybody else doing it, so therefore I do it yet again. I move.
You're welcome, Honorable Karim.
Thank you for welcoming me.
Second, welcome to endorse the minutes. Welcome to endorse the minutes.
I've never been welcome to do that before. This is a first.
Any second?
Yeah, if you're going to roll out the red carpet, then I'll also happily second.
No, you can't do the same for a guy that bogus Paris Street here.
Yes, thank you. Lubabalo, anything?
Very wide, sorry, yes.
Anything, Lubabalo, are you done?
We are done, Chairperson. We'll see each other next week on Wednesday when we deal with the Early Childhood Development Grant with the Department of Social Development. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Members, let's then say that is the end of this meeting and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you. I like the color combination of your walls, Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Recording stopped.